Good evening. Welcome to what is the last episode of this month's Inquisition. So we are going to just wait for our guest, and Dunk will be along at some point. There he is. Because he was late this week, I started hosting. So you can't be late if you host it yourself, can you? That clever Casey. How are we all doing? Everyone good? Hope you're all having a lovely week. And we will get done. Tiz is here now as well, so I will accept and get Tiz in, and we can get this party started. Although what's gonna actually happen is that I'm gonna run into the usual thing where I try and accept and get people into this stuff, and it never works. Because why would it ever work for me? Invite, cancel Donk, invite Donk. There's Tiz. How are
Hello.
you, Tiz?
It actually worked. That was pretty smooth.
Yeah, you say that. Donk's still not in yet, so we'll have to see how it goes.
There he is.
I think you'll find, Bob, that I'd actually just went live and you actually kicked me out of a live. And Tiz can testify to that because Tiz joined as I get kicked off. Did that not happen, Tiz?
That did. I can't say whether it was Casey that caused you to be kicked, but yeah.
I blame Dasmall. Anyway, how are we all doing? We good?
Knackered.
Donk, you good?
I'm having Xbox X issues. Like, it seems if I turn it off, it doesn't turn back on for ages.
Okay, we'll talk about that separately, I think. It's not the stream to talk about Xbox problems in. But this is the last, as I was saying, the last edition of February Females on the Inquisition. Returning guest, Tiz puts paints on minis. Thank you for coming back on and joining us.
You're very welcome. Glad to be back.
Good. And how is your hobbying being since we last spoke to you?
It's been full of lots of ideas and I've learnt lots of stuff from lots of people, but I have finished nothing.
That's just the normal thing of hobbying, though, isn't it? We never, ever finish anything.
Yeah, I've got a few bits that are close to where I want them to be, but it's those little final touches that you kind of that make you nervous because you get it to a certain point and then you go, if I fuck this up, it's ruined. So I've got a few bits that nearly completed, but it's just those nerve-wracking final little bits.
Getting the I's in, crossing the T's, all of that sort of stuff, the final.
Yeah.
Because I did see on one of your recent stories that you've got some bits on the go and that you're potentially going to be entering them into something. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'm on Phoenix Miniature Arts Patreon. And in the Discord, there's a black and white competition.
Okay.
So you can only use one white paint, one black paint for the entire model.
Okay.
And I have basically primed the model and then used my white paint to zenithal it, and that's as far as I've got, and I need it to finish it by Friday.
So you're allowed the black paint and white paint. Is that it? You're not allowed any other sort. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
because then you've got to try and grayscale.
There are some seriously good pieces that have been done. I'm sure they'll sort of get shown on Instagram over time, but absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, it's probably one of the most inspiring Discords I'm on.
Cool.
In terms of painting quality.
Actually, that's actually a good point, and this is something I don't know if me and Dunk have ever sort of really quizzed many guests that we've got on with. But how much inspiration do you get from like the greater community, as it were, when you're seeing other people's works, and sort of seeing how they might have done something, how you think about how you would have done it differently, or thinking about stuff that you could potentially pinch here, there, everywhere?
Yeah, so I take quite a lot of inspiration from other people's stuff. I do steal ideas. And
Totally.
I've definitely learned a lot by doing the like Zoom of Doom
Mm.
on other people's work and kind of seeing, you know, perhaps where they've put that highlight. Or I like quite a lot of people that I find inspiring are not necessarily the smoothest of painters.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, where have they placed those brush strokes? Why have they created that texture? Yeah, so I would highly recommend doing the Zoom of Doom on pieces that you like, because it's one thing to see sort of like the overall effect of something and be like, wow, that's amazing. But sometimes when you zoom in, you can start to pick up on what colors they've placed where, variation in tone that they've done, that you might not register just by looking at the piece overall. So yeah, do a zoom.
It's also a fair point, because I think it's interesting that you sort of highlighted that a lot of people tend to get stuck in one particular style of painting and don't ever branch out from it. And obviously, it's a more popular style. We'll say it's Games Workshop's heavy metal style, but there is a lot to be said of going away from that, looking at what other people are doing, and like you say, sort of focusing on like the little mini details that you don't really sort of pick up, I would suppose. Jay Hen Lord of Cats asks, have you ever painted a cat?
Um, no, I don't think I have.
And I think you need
No,
to. I
I don't
think
think
you
I have.
need to.
Although Dunk did ask back, I think, something about cat or pussy.
Yeah.
Um, and I have got an oil painting. I didn't paint it, but I do have an oil painting that is 4 foot by a foot of a lady's bits.
Right, why you just said the word pussy and now you're struggling to say pussy again? Like, what's all that about? Can you not
I don't
say,
know.
can you not
I don't
say
know.
pussy
Years
twice
of
inside a
so
minute?
I bought it when I was about 18. And I hung it upside down and convinced my nan that it was a flower for years. So it's a beautiful lily. Um, it's
That's
not. It's a pussy.
also probably what some women call it as well, beautiful lily. There you go.
Yeah, probably. Um, there are some awful words for. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on.
Yeah,
So, um,
Jehan's going to send you something. I'm just trying to clarify if it's a cat or a pussy. So I'm hoping he'll get back to us.
I'm open to painting either. Like I'll paint anything.
there you go.
So, see, a lot of one of the questions, because you paint quite a lot of like busts and stuff. Do you Is it purely acrylic paints that you use to paint that, or do you like use contrast paints or oil paints, or what do you use to paint your busts?
So far, I used to use a mix of um, acrylics and some like speed paint type, you know, ones, or use washes. The more I've been painting recently, sort of, I'd say over the last sort of 18 months, I don't seem to be reaching for any sort of speed paints these days. Um, Not sure why. I've just found myself not. I had a go with oils. It didn't go very well. Uh, and I don't know if it's because I'm really heavy-handed. So my experience with oils is you kind of lay them down and then you have to kind of like beautifully smush them together tenderly. No, there's no tenderness here. Like I was just wiping it away and being left with what I put on underneath. I was just like, I'm shit at this. So I just stick to my acrylics.
And you
Fair
just
enough.
Are you just purely doing busts now, or are you still working on like any like miniatures or anything like that?
So it is mostly larger scale stuff, so either busts or full minis that are like 75 mil or above.
Yep.
I do have a bit of a throwback project that I have built the base for, I've built the mini for, and at some point I will do him. But it's Captain Macinius.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I have a kind of vision. So I've built a base with sort of manufactorum type ruins sort of behind, some sort of windows behind. And I'm just sort of imagining him stood at night in the rain and lightning just going off. How the hell I'm going to translate that onto a mini, I don't know. But I'm currently gathering lots of pictures for inspiration to try and work out how the hell to do it.
And what would you what from I've only ever painted. I think the biggest thing I've painted was my Dread Knight. So what's the biggest difference going from like detailed minis to busts? Well, maybe a lot of like flat areas, and how do you get find that? How do you make that depth like really shine out?
So I think the biggest difference, I think, particularly about if we're thinking Games Workshop minis, I think over the years they've become busier and busier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it doesn't give, don't get me wrong, some people can do this amazingly. I find it quite difficult, but they're almost so busy that there's not enough space to, I don't know, do the same effects that you would if you've got a larger space to paint. So fair play to anyone that can kind of get the depth and sort of textures painted and rendered really well on a small scale GW model. Like fair play, because that's really really skillful. I think on a larger scale, you have got these larger, flatter areas. I think you have to be braver with texture. Um, you could paint every element beautifully smooth, and you know, my personal preference, I would look at it and I'd be like, wow, that's really skillful. But I think the larger scale minis that have a bigger impact or more realism are those where people have really leaned into being brave about the texture that they put onto different areas. So making that fabric really look like fabric, making that leather really look like worn, beaten leather, the metal look really rusty, or, you know, I think for it to really sing, you have to kind of be brave with texture.
It's a fair point because I think, especially with busts, like you can get the same bust painted by 5 people, and again, much like any mini, they do paint it 5 different ways. But if you're really defining the difference in textures to like a woolen jumper versus, like you're saying, a leather jacket or something like that, it can really set them across as being properly different works.
Yeah, I think one that I have almost finished painting is a Spira. I can't pronounce the second part of that name. um, it's like the little gnome lady
Mm.
hugging the chicken. I call her my little vodka loving nan, because she just looks like she's really drunk and hugging the chicken and not caring that sorry, owl. It's not a chicken. It's an owl. And she just looks drunk and like she doesn't care that the owl's kind of not having a great time. And when you look at all the different versions that people have painted, everyone's done the hat differently, everyone's done the cloth differently, everyone's done a slightly different version of the owl, everyone's done the eyes differently. Yeah, same mini, but the vibe
Yeah.
of them completely, everyone's done the skin tone differently,
Hmm.
you know. So I if you want to see the difference that sort of artistic choices can make on a mini, I would look up the I think it's called Mama Noma, something like that, because that really I've seen a lot of different versions of that, and they're all fantastic.
Do you not think that that's something that they should really do for the likes of Golden Demon? Is like, look, if you want to enter Golden Demon this year for a specific category, buy this model. It only costs you, say, £20, $20, and that is your entry. I think that would be pretty amazing to see the scale and difference that people would maybe put with their artistic choice on a specific model. Because we all know people that are doing Golden Demon pieces, and it's Marines or a tank or somebody's vagina. Do you know what I mean? But I think if you had one model and
There are
you could
those
just go mad.
Necromunda flappy things that look suspicious, isn't there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But if you had one
Flying
model,
vaginas. Yeah.
if you had one model and you were just like, this is your model, this is what we're looking for, I think that would be pretty amazing. I think you'd probably see a better balance. Would you agree with that?
I think it would be really interesting. I don't think GW would ever go for it. But I think it could be really interesting to pare it back and actually go, this model on a base, do what you want. And I love seeing Golden Demon, even now, and I know, there are videos criticizing it on YouTube and all of this, and not everyone's happy with like the rules changes and all of that stuff. But I still, like, when they release all the photos, I still will sit down and meticulously scroll through, because I still absolutely love Golden Demon. It takes me back to the original games days, when there used to be actual games days, where you'd take that bus up with your store, you'd have made your banner, you'd all walk your banner in, but I think it would be really interesting to see artists stripped back to just one simple model and see what they do. So I think there would be some absolutely fantastic pieces done.
Yeah, because you're putting everybody on a kind of even keel, where it's like one specific model, and that's if any events are watching, this is something you should do for next year. Do you know what I mean? This is next year's model. You have a whole year to go to fucking March on Com or whatever you want to call it. This is your mini bish bash bosh. Let's see what you can do inside a year, and then people have plenty of time taking a fanny about and mess about it.
Why on
earth
are you banned from Golden Demon?
Yes, I think you need to tell us in the chat that, Jay.
Yeah, I think we need to know.
Very, very good catch. While we're waiting for that, I know on that sort of subject that you're sort of raising, Dunk, I know some shops will do like a little mini contest of here's your mini of the month, off you go.
Yeah.
But I think, mainly more, it doesn't even have to be Games Workshop. It could be any show or convention you go to. You run a painting contest. If you want to enter, this is the mini you have to paint. You turn up on the day and enter it. It really would just sort of level a playing field, I think, because so many people you'll get people like me who back in the day, and you'll remember this, Tiz, if you would go into games day, you either hung around outside for half an hour waiting to get in, or you claimed you were entering Golden Demon. You took whatever first miniature you could grab before you got on the coach with you, and you snuck in half an hour earlier, and you didn't care.
Yeah.
Most of those minis probably never got picked up either. But
no. So towards the end, the only real games days I did was as a staff member. And those are really, really fond memories, taking people to their first games day, but yeah, the queues, and people would bring anything just to get in early. Like some random kind of thing that they've splodged some paint on the day before, like entering, so
one I did, I remember someone just painted a Nurgling, stuck it on a base, and was like, "That's my entry. Single miniature done. I'm getting in early." And no one had told me about it beforehand. I didn't realise that it was a thing. So I was left with everyone else on the bus for another half hour, like twiddling my thumbs, thinking, "Oh, for fuck's sake, why didn't I think of that?"
Yeah.
But yeah, it's genius.
Yeah, it is genius. But I did go to a must be 5. It might even be 6 years ago now. I did go to a Warhammer Fest.
Mhm.
Wasn't the same.
No, they're not. From
I
what
didn't
I've
go
seen
to the one where all the influencers went. Like, it was before kind of like the whole influencer thing and GW kind of kicked off and stuff.
Yeah.
But I went, and I don't know, it didn't have, maybe it was because I wasn't going up with, a store.
Mhm.
But it didn't have the same vibe, I didn't think.
Are you going to your toilet?
No, I had to put the dogs out for a wee because, they're silly.
Yeah.
And then I had to get them treats.
Yeah, you have to get them a wee treat. You have to get them a wee treat.
So they had venison sausages.
How long did you work for Games Workshop for again?
From 2009 or 2010 until 2014. Yeah.
About time when you think about it, like most people don't have a job nowadays for 3 or 4 years anymore, do they? They're both bouncing around.
Yeah,
so.
it was a long time on really shit pay.
Yeah.
I've heard recently they pay a lot better now. Maybe I would have stayed. No, I probably wouldn't have. But still, it was amazing. It was probably the funnest job I've ever had. The people were amazing. My first manager, I mean, he follows me on Instagram. Jay, you were amazing. Still one of my favourite people. Not that I've talked to him in years, but he was fantastic. Taught me a huge amount. Was amazing to people. Just one of those all-round awesome hobbyists who introduced so many people to the hobby. So shout out to Jay. You're awesome.
I think it's one of the things that you sort of. I remember my first retail job, and this is how old I am. It was in a Toys R Us, but I haven't broken this out for a little while. I've got a little key ring to prove it. They gave that out when you had 2 years service. I've still got it as a memento mori. But at times it was horrible hard work, and at other times when it was fun, it was fun.
Yeah, stock take was hell.
Yeah,
I
stock takes always.
Take.
Yeah. Cashing up, I always used to do the cashing up at Christmas. So what would happen is I'd go in at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, not leave until 10 o'clock at night on the Saturday, and then do it again the Sunday, because we would take 100 grand cash a day and stuff like that.
I dread to think what it was like for the larger GW stores. I worked in a few, but I started in the Bath one.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't a particularly big one. It was kind of the 2-man store. Whereas, there are much, much larger ones.
Yeah.
So I dread to think what stock take was like. But you mentioning kind of like your little keyring thing,
Mm-hmm.
I've still got my T-shirt from the first games day that I did as stuff. The most hideous T-shirt I've ever owned. It's the most hideous shade of yellow. But I kept it and I love it. And still to this day, I take my sergeant's course certificate to interviews.
I did see you post that.
Yeah. And it is written on my CV. Even though it literally says Sergeant Course Sigismund. And it's literally got the you are the Emperor's soldier, blah-de-da-de-da, go forth. And it's like this big whole Space Marine spiel with pictures of Space Marines. I still take it. I don't care. Still take it.
It's you got to take pride in those little things, haven't you? It's a little mini achievements that don't really mean a lot in the scheme of things, but I've still got a certificate somewhere from when I was a karate instructor. And it's like, you've been certified by the governing body to teach people how to defend against knife attacks. I was like, I was tempted to take it to a job interview once, but didn't feel it was applicable because it was an office job. So if any of you get attacked with knives, I can defend you, but hopefully that shouldn't happen.
Probably more
wait a minute.
applicable than my
I can
grade
just,
8 musical theatre performance.
Maybe.
I can just picture it now. Let me. You want to stab me? Wait a minute. I need to just phone my pal here just to see. He's a karate instructor. He can stop you stabbing me, and by that time I'm stabbed anyway.
Hey, this bloke's got a knife. Get Casey over. He knows what to do.
Casey to the rescue.
No.
Yeah. If the correct answer is just give them your wallet. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't carry a wallet. I carry a purse now. So I
So
think they're very.
I'm a better target for a thief these days because I do carry a wallet. Whereas when I was young, I didn't like carrying anything. I didn't go out with a bag. I would just shove whatever I needed to take in my bra.
Yeah.
And that, I was like, well, if someone tries to steal something, I'm gonna notice.
Can we go back a second? Sorry, Tiz, can we just go back again? Can you say purse again for me?
Purse.
Because it just sounds such an aggressive word in a Scottish accent. I'm sorry, it's beautiful.
Cheers. I actually have a wee. I actually do have a wee purse. Like I don't actually know where it is.
Maximus is not in a room he's not allowed in. Maximus, out.
Is this one of the many animals, Tiz?
Oh, this is the big Great Dane. He's in one of the kids' rooms and he's not meant to be. There we go. Yeah.
If you had your balls taken away from you, I would want to just roam about as well, to be honest. Oh.
Look at that. That's a horse. That's not a dog.
Hey, Matt.
It's beautiful.
Imagine how big his poos are. Oh, that's a
It's
black
what?
windbag. His poops will be massive. It's like a Shetland pony.
This is probably too much information, but he's mostly raw fed, so they're actually not that bad. Yeah, there you go.
So,
top tip:
do you want
if you have a really big dog and you don't want them to do massive shits, raw feed them.
That actually relies with what James C. Studios was saying the other day. He was talking about his dogs and he raw feeds them. But Dunk, seeing as we're talking about dogs and shits, would you like to tell everyone your story from last week after we finished?
What's that with the dog peeing in my feet?
No, when it ate its own shit.
Oh my god! So me and Casey were having our post introduction chat as we do, and El Puppo decided to have a wee poo, a wee poop in the hall, and then the wife was like, "Is there a hard running clean it?" She's like, "Oh, I think that dog's done a poo," and I was like, "It has. I can smell it. It smells rank." So I went out in the hall, and she's fucking chowing down her poo, and the wife was horrified, trying to hold my phone with one hand, try to clean up poo with the other hand. She's gone mental. Doug's loving life, tried to get back into the poo to finish what it started.
Oh.
And then the wee bastard woke up dead early last Friday and decided that she wasn't going to go downstairs to do a pee. She did a pee in my feet in the bed. That's my feet.
So
I'm last Friday.
I'm glad that Maximus got the whole toilet training really quickly, because there is nothing bigger than a Great Dane's pee if it's raining, because they do not want to go outside and they will hold it all day and then they'll finally go out in the garden and they will piss for literally a minute and a half, just stood there.
It's like that scene from Austin Powers.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So I'm glad that he doesn't do things like that in the house, because that would be a hell of a clean job.
That would be like an indoor swimming pool.
Oh.
It would. Min.
Pick a work things to swim in.
Min, John. I'm talking to people. You can't lick your minge, lady. Sorry.
Hey, if she wants to lick her minge, $19.99 a month on the internet, people will buy it.
Okay.
Yeah. Only dogs. I bet that exists. Only dogs is probably a thing somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. when I was in the military, I think there's still a website. I think it used to be called block rats. So it's like lashes that you pulled, you bring them back, and you would call them block rats. And there was a web page on Facebook that would like rate the the block rat. Oh, it was some right munters there.
Lovely.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Dunk.
That's
Yeah,
we are equal opportunity sharers on this page. Can't say we're not. Going back, actually, just thinking about it, is just a little thought lingering in the back of my mind about
Yeah.
the busts and stuff. This is something I always ask people that do it, and it might also lead into some other questions in a bit. But what would you say to someone who is looking to start off painting busts and getting into all of that side of things, but might just need a bit of a kick up the bum to actually go out and do it?
Pick something that you like and wax and paint on it.
Cool.
Just pick a colour, get some paint on it. You can strip them. Like the amount of busts that I've, put in BioStrip. Just go careful. BioStrip and resin isn't great. You can dilute BioStrip though and go low and slow. But yeah, you can strip them. So no stress. Says me who stresses like a motherfucker.
And even thinking about it, you mentioned earlier what you got in plan for your little Space Marine dude and how you want it to look and stuff. When you actually first pick up a bust or a mini or anything like that, how much time would you say you spend sitting there actually thinking about planning it out, what you want it to look like, where you want the light to go, all of those sorts of little bits? Because obviously painting something that's like 28 to 32 mils, the scope for that is lesser than something that's 75, 85, 95. It's a lot more of a process, I'd imagine.
A lot more. So my first bust that I painted was the Road Girl Academic from Journeyman Miniatures. And aside from what colours I wanted, I didn't put enough thought into it. Proud of her. First bust I painted, lovely. Whereas now I would say I probably spend more time thinking about and planning, and I collect reference images now. And I will prime a model, shine lights on it, try different lighting scenarios, take photos. So it's a much more involved process than it ever used to be. And I think that's had a real impact on particularly my most recent pieces like Witchhorn, the little gnome lady. Yeah. So it's quite an involved process now. And I think for me that works. I can't hold pictures in my head. So if someone says, what does a rock look like? I could tell you it in general terms, but I can't pull up an image of it. So collecting reference images of the textures and colours and all of that has been really, really helpful.
That's also a good thing. I suppose that's also just good advice generally for starters as well, is to plan it a bit more in detail, because you can sit there painting an army. You think it's an army, it's going to be quite uniform in respect to how you're going to approach it. But a one-off piece is something that's going to be a bit more particular.
Yeah. And I think I had a couple of lessons with Lucas Miniature Art, I think is his full Instagram. And it, he has quite an involved process of kind of the priming and shining light and working out where your lights are and then taking photos and all of that. And one thing he told me is the more time you spend planning where you're going to put the paint, the more intentional you are with each brushstroke, the quicker you get results. And nothing that I've ever learned in painting has ever been truer. So I've been surprised at how in a 15-minute session I can make quite a lot of progress because I've sat down and probably spent 15 minutes looking at the model first, making sure I've got the colours I need on my palette, and then applying quite slowly. Just going, this needs to go here. I'm going here, here, and here. Yeah, what seems to be working for me. But yeah, being intentional. Whereas up until recently, I have been a little bit more kind of, I want to get to this point, but I'm not sure how to get it. So I'm just going to slap some paint about and hopefully end up there. Having a plan gets me results a lot quicker.
I've rambled for a bit, mate. You go.
Yeah. So, do you play any games now, or is it just solely painting that you do?
I haven't played in ages. I have many models that I can play with. And we do have gaming boards at home. It's purely a time thing. You know, I haven't got as much time or the energy to paint as much as I'd like to. And I just prefer painting to gaming. I like watching people game. I'm like a game voyeur, a bit of a pervy like game watcher. I will quite happily sit and watch other people game and have a absolutely wonderful time. But I like the setup of games. So prime example is if people suggest we play Risk, you know, you have to set up where your armies are going and all of that and put the little bits out. I do all that and then I just get a little bit kind of like, cool, done now. Done the setup. That's the bit I like. So yeah, I don't really game. I can game, and I get quite irritated when people kind of assume that I can't. It wouldn't take me long to pick up the latest edition and work out how to do it. Like, but yeah, I just don't have the time. I'd rather watch people.
When you are,
and you can use that snippet for something, Dunk.
Oh well, don't you worry. You know me too well, Tiz. When you were working in Games Workshop, what game did you like to teach people, or if you taught them?
So we obviously, back in the day, I don't know if they still do it, but we had like Sunday beginners. And at the time, 40k was simpler to teach than fantasy. Fantasy, there was lots of elements that you had to learn and all of that. Whereas I think probably now they're probably a little bit similar in terms of mechanics than, you know, there used to be a real distinct difference between 40k and fantasy. And I know they sort of brought old worlds back, not with the proper armies that they should have, but that's a whole nother thing. So I used to like teaching 40k more, although I preferred fantasy. And the reason I liked teaching 40k more was because you could get people to a like a standard where they felt like they were really achieving far quicker.
Yeah.
You know, like you can grasp the basics really super quickly with 40k, or used to. I haven't read the newest edition. Whereas fantasy was just that little bit more involved. So yeah, I preferred teaching 40k.
And what got you into, like, what got you? What was the attraction of working in Games Workshop? Was it just because it was a job, or was it because you were that deep in the hobby and you just went, an opportunity arose, or what? Because
So
I'd been
I'd
quite
had an interest for a long time. You know, as we kind of said before, kind of Airfix with Grandad, bloody blah, board games, D&D, Space Hulk. That was like the big entry point, was Space Hulk. And I was just sitting down painting, probably for the first time in quite a while. I was painting with my brother, and he turned around and said, "Do you know what? You're not bad at this." And my brother previously worked for Games Workshop, and he was like, "I think you'd be really good." So I applied, went up for like the selection day, and had to wait maybe a month and a half before they offered me a store.
And was there many females about at that point, or was it just like a wee niche?
There were a few. There were already some excellent female store managers working for Games Workshop back in the day, which is why I find it really confuddling, this whole kind of like narrative of women being new in the hobby. Like, I'm an old bitch, and there are female hobbyists that have been into it way longer than me. But there weren't many women on my interview day. And did I dress like a naughty secretary? Possibly a little bit, and it got me the job.
Fair enough.
Pencil skirt and a little shirt, you know, like.
Yeah,
So
an age 12 to 14 shirt, and like everything was busting out, sort of thing. Like, be careful with those buttons; you'll take an eye out.
Yeah.
Why not?
As far as I'm concerned, there is nothing wrong with using every advantage that you have at your disposal, and anyone who criticizes you for it, fuck them.
Yeah, to be fair, I've dressed sexy for interviews before. And not sexy enough, I think. But no, the chaps didn't go down well for PC World, but it was worth a try.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
He's just thinking of you in chaps now.
Probably.
Looking off longingly into the distance.
I don't blame him. I think of myself in chaps, and it makes me feel sick again. But there you go.
I've actually lost my train of thought now.
Yep, there you go. It's the Inquisition. That's what we do. Excuse me. I'll jump in for a second and don't. There used to be a female manager at the Barnet store, and I used to bring my cat in to show her. What is it with you and cats? And you still haven't told us, Jehan, why you're banned from Golden Demon. We're waiting for it, fella. Don't let us down.
Did you take your cat? Did it eat a model?
Yeah. Did you paint your cat and take it to Golden Demon? Is that the problem?
Or did it go in like the bits box and like take a shit?
Oh,
thinking it was a litter tray.
Not again. They want it 3 times in a year, Jehan. 4th time, you're out. You're done.
Stop bringing that bloody cat.
And it's probably just him taking a shit with his cat head on. You're a 20-year-old man. Stop shitting in the fucking box.
It's possible things. A tiny little Tupperware dish filled with grey plastic.
Oh, that's right.
Jesus Christ. Right.
What has this descended into?
It's the typical Inquisition madness. We're here for it. We love it. So, we've had, obviously, all female guests on this month.
Yeah.
I will say thank you for agreeing to come back on, because that's brilliant of you. But also thank you for tuning in every week. That hasn't gone unnoticed.
I do. I try to support.
Yeah, but if you notice, she doesn't finish the stream. She leaves just before we finish. So technically,
I do like a little drop in, throw a little comment about dildos, and then run away.
Yeah, like your dildo comments have been pretty awesome.
Yeah, they've been pretty awesome.
I remember, right, talking about dildos, right? I worked in an Ann Summers store as a security guard, right?
Oh, she did.
Honestly.
You bring a little thermos in with you every week.
Of all places, I worked in and summers in Socky Hall Street in Glasgow, and like you used to have to fucking ask people for ID to go and like buy dildos. You had to be 18, even though you could get married in Scotland at 16. You had to be 18 to buy a dildo. So weird.
Scottish law for you, man. You know, you can get caned on Buckfast at 14, but not legally drink till you're 18.
Yeah,
There you go.
and you
Um,
can and you can get married, but you can't pleasure yourself or get drunk at your own wedding.
There you go.
Mental.
well, why would I'm not going to ask that question. No, I'm going to stop myself there. I've seen it coming, and I don't want to go down that route. So let's go back on to where my line of questioning was going. As
Dildos.
you have been tuning, not dildos, fuck off. As you have been tuning in every week, obviously, I've been sort of asking a range of questions to a lot of our female guests about um, reactions to different groups of people, various different sort of how they've found themselves in a hobby. Obviously, we've done that with you in your first show. We've glossed over it again now. I think what's been more interesting to me and inspiring to me is trying to find out different little things that each of our guests have done to support other women in hobbying. Because obviously, me and Dunk, we're blokes. We ain't got a clue. We support each other roughly and a few other people by just cussing each other. But we obviously aren't sort of we're immune to a lot of sort of stuff that goes on for women in sort of hobbying. So what have you found when you've come online, you've come on into Instagram, that you've sort of found people rally around and sort of support you, or you know, have you had people come up to you and say, "Oh, I've had problems with this," and you know, what's been your experiences?
I think starting on Instagram there was quite a marked difference for me between the rhetoric and reaction to female hobbyists as opposed to what my sort of real life experience had been.
Yeah.
So in real life, occasional issue, you know, second manager at Games Workshop, I touched on briefly last time, was very, very inappropriate. Haha, got him sacked. But online, I found it quite surprising, the vitriol that the idea that women might hobby brings up for some people. I cannot comprehend what is so triggering about it. Other than, you know, and I'm happy for people to think I'm a prick for this, but other than dudes getting upset because actually if there are female hobbyists, then they can't use the fact that they hobby as an excuse for being shit at relationships. You know, that's but I haven't experienced a huge amount of stuff. Other than a few kind of like, oh, I'm gonna unfollow because her cleavage, and it's like, yeah, I've got tits, like shut up. I don't care that you're unfollowing, like, but I have noticed other women getting far more hassle than I do, and I will jump in, and comment and tell people to go suck a dick, quite frankly.
Which you did last week.
I
You
did.
did tell somebody to go suck a
Yeah.
dick, and this week as well. I think there's been 2 weeks of telling people to go and suck dicks.
Yeah. It's one of my favourite for that type of anti-female hobbyist, because I don't think there's anything wrong with anyone sucking a dick if they wish to, but it really upsets them to be told it.
I mean,
So that's
I'm
why.
I mean, I'm going to quote. I'm
It's a
going to
proper
quote a line
childish
from.
dig as well.
I'm going to quote a line from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Half the people like getting their dick sucked, and the other half like to suck dick. So it's a win-win for everybody.
A win-win. But yeah, so it's been quite shocking because, yeah, just such a marked contrast to what I've experienced in real life. Generally speaking, everyone in real life is fab. You get the odd sort of like daft comment from guys. I remember going up for some training at HQ, and I don't know whether this guy wanted to try and sound supportive or something, but in front of everyone he was like, so what's it like being a female in such a male dominated company? I kind of think he was trying to be supportive, but it just was such a ridiculous question to ask. I probably shouldn't have responded with exactly the same as yours, but I've got tits. Probably not the most appropriate response.
You
But
should
I've
have
always
got
been,
on a really manly voice and went, "What makes you think I'm a girl?"
well, to be fair, like I know I'm on female only month, but like I'm so indifferent to my gender that I go by she generally, but I don't really care. Um, but yeah, the comments and the nastiness that I have seen people fling at women on Instagram.
Would you say, and I think this is an interesting point, going back to when we had SJ Paintslayer on a couple of weeks ago, her experience went from the Games Workshop stuff into bolt action historics, and it's a completely different vibe. Do you feel where you're more on your bus and just doing your own thing and thinking just like, oh, well, universal theory of fuck them, I'm doing what I want to make myself happy, that you sort of notice that maybe that's why you are a little bit detached and it is just, let's say, a Games Workshop problem?
Yeah, I do think there is something about some people seeing, perhaps having certain experiences that would lead them towards idolizing the Imperium.
Yep.
And I think that often coincides with this rhetoric, this anti-women hobbyist rhetoric.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you think that that's something to idolize, I think you missed the point. Um, and I think probably it isn't as prevalent in other game systems.
Mm-hmm.
I've been around people that have played Warmer Hordes, not really seen a lot of sort of anti-women in that kind of arena. Yeah, I do think it's kind of a GW, and dare I say it, sorry for any followers, um, I don't think our UK boys are the worst.
Mm.
I think I see it more from, particularly recently, I've seen more American, French, and Spanish men making comments.
Yeah.
That's not to generalize. I know plenty of American, Spanish, and French hobbyists who are male, who are supportive and amazing. It's just something that I've noticed who those comments that I've seen have come from.
I will say, yeah, I think agreeing with you on that, because there was the big issue a couple of years ago where at a Spanish tournament, someone's turned up wearing swastika t-shirts. You've had that French guy recently on Instagram just going in on female gamers and hobbyists. It just feels very unnecessary. Then I get it. I think your point of a certain type of person being attracted to what was originally a work of parody in the Imperium, as it were, has now been blown out of proportion, and people are just. I love people that like the lore. I like people that like. Here's the backstory for why we sell you toy soldiers, but I think some people buy into it too wholesale and get too into it, if that makes sense.
I find it really bizarre when I see people saying, well, why has it got to turn all political? If you can't look at the backgrounds of the people that originally created uh, Games Workshop and not see that this has always been political, it has
Mm-hmm.
always had threads of politics, world events. I mean, one of my essays for one of my degrees was actually about the representation of church and state within 40k. That was in my religion and culture degree. I love a certificate. I'm partway through my 6th degree. Like, I love certificates.
Have you got your 50? Have you got your 50 meters from swimming still then?
No, because right, I thought they said 15, so I stopped, and then didn't understand why they were telling me to keep going. I'm like, but I've done it, so I didn't get my certificate.
Just completely derailed that topic of conversation there.
Yeah,
'Cause just
sorry.
talking certificates. No, don't say sorry.
If you don't get that, it's all political. It's all about church v state. It's all about, you know, not nice things and how it's not something that is good.
The whole 40k thing isn't, and nobody's a good guy.
No,
Like, everybody's a, maybe
there
apart
is
from the ops, maybe
only,
apart from
in
the,
my opinion, one morally neutral faction.
the ops.
Nids, they're just fucking hungry.
Hungry. Yeah, that's a fair point. They're feeding.
They're just nom-nomming. Like, they're not discriminating against who they nom-nom.
That's true.
They lead themselves. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, they'll nom everyone. Equal opportunity nomming.
See, just on the whole female hobby thing, right? And people giving them hate online. Do you think it could be down to jealousy when they see a lot of the kind of the rise of the female influencer and they're getting all this free shit, and then people think that they should have get free shit, but they were actually shit, so they don't get free shit.
I'm also going to jump in before you answer that.
There might be an element of that, but I think that probably goes. I think I see male influencers getting shit for having free stuff as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just a thing that's sort of pointed at women in the hobby. I think people can get quite upset about people getting free stuff. I don't care. Like, if that's what Games Workshop wants to do, that's what Games Workshop wants to do. It's not it's not impacting me. Yeah.
I tell you,
but I think
actually, just as a follow-on to that, just as a follow-on to that, right? And this is something I think I personally have noticed, that I will admit to 100% of not being a creative person. I never have been. I've been shit at drawing. In school, I was rubbish at painting. I was rubbish at trying to do like creative writing. My brain's just not wired like that. But when I joined Instagram and started looking at the different accounts, a lot of them bloke gamers. Obviously, they game, they paint, they play. So for them, painting a space marine is purely because they want 100 of these little bastards on a table so they can roll dice aggressively at each other. Do you think that, as a bloke, my mind is obviously, I do this is not me. But I would say my findings is that a lot of females have a bit more of a creative brain. They've got a lot more thoughtfulness, and they're willing to sit down, maybe think a little bit differently, maybe do something a little bit differently. But I would say that there's probably a lot better female painters out there than a male. Would you sort of say that that's your thoughts, or maybe some of the jealousy of these angry male gamers and painters comes from that too?
Potentially. I mean, I think in all genders there are people who excel at painting, and there are people who perhaps don't. But I think, I mean, there are some really excellent female painters, but then there's some really excellent male painters. I don't know. I think because I look at anyone who's a good painter, unless I think they're a prick. Like, I don't notice that, but I do think perhaps for some people, seeing a woman excel in something that perhaps they've been trying for a long time to improve at could trigger some things. I'm not sure I would agree that females are naturally more creative. I cannot draw for shit.
Yeah, but you've been putting on war paint since you were a young lass, so
Oh yeah,
you've got a better understanding of colour theory
yeah.
and that sort of stuff, and knowing what goes with what. Because the amount of models that I have wasted paint on, because thinking it was going to be like amazing, and it looks like shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think so. Alongside my hobby, one of my other great loves is special effects makeup in general. I used to do stage makeup for a local theatre company. So give me something 3D to put colour and whatever on, but give me a flat piece of paper and ask me to draw something. Utter shite.
Fair enough.
But I think some women probably just have a different take on Warhammer. I
Yeah.
think some women possibly come at it with a slight, and this doesn't go for all women, but I think particularly the ones that are kind of just starting out, perhaps the lore doesn't appeal to them. And so they're just like, I don't care what colour I paint them. I just want to paint them how I want to paint
Yeah,
them. And that really upsets some people.
yeah, yeah. It's so funny when you.
That's not an imperial fist, it's
Yeah,
green. It's like, what does it matter? It's a piece of fucking plastic. You know?
yeah. People have to justify to the gatekeepers why their fucking Alpha Legion is fucking illuminous
Yeah.
yellow. It's hilarious. I mean, well, it's Alpha Legion. They're probably just sneaking in and doing people badly. But that's the thing. Like when you see somebody who's painted like an orc purple, and it's like, yeah, that's
So,
orc purple.
like, what does it? So it's not law based, rule of cool.
Yeah.
Like, it has always been about rule of cool. Do you think what you're doing is cool? Are you enjoying your hobby?
Yeah,
Then fucking rock on. Like, just carry on. Do what makes you happy. It's your blood. You bought the fucking things.
yeah,
I find it incredibly entitled of people to. I get quite get quite angry about it. Like, who the fuck do you think you are to tell people that they've painted their miniature wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
Their
I
bloody
So
agree.
miniature.
I've got a question that's kind of going up. It's still on painting, but it's not as like Warhammer heavy as what we've been discussing recently. So I'm going through a wee bit of a hobby lull, just a wee bit of painter's block. I, I just can't be bothered. How do you find yourself getting out that rut of? Because I've got myself all set up. I've changed my water about 5 times. Like I've got myself all set up, and then seeing I get the brush, and it's like time to put paint on something. It's just like, oh,
Just goes, no.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you combat that?
Well, by the very, very small amount of models that I actually finish, I don't combat it particularly successfully. Um, uh, but for me, my best hobby times are school holidays because I mainly work term time.
Mhm.
Um, and I think taking a break and not putting too much pressure on yourself, a big sleep helps. Like, wrap yourself up in a comfy blanket and just chill out and then see if you feel like it later. I think the more you put pressure on yourself, the harder it gets and the more you kind of freeze. Sorry, I've got a very, very naughty dog trying to hug the big dog right now.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's all kicking off.
It's all kicking
It's-
off. It's because I got irate, see? They pick up on my energy.
And what about you, Casey? What do you use to? How do you combat like any painter's block or hobby lull that you experience?
You know what? Sometimes successfully, other times unsuccessfully. I will be honest, I've not painted anything properly for about 2 weeks now. I've not even picked the stuff up. I think I am in a little bit of a rut at the moment just because of hobby rut, should I say. just because I've got some personal life demands that, let's face it, personal life demands should take priority over hobby demands. At the end of the day, that's just being an adult, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, knowing when to take a step back and when to take a step forward. I think if you are in a little bit of a hobby block, taking a step back and just not thinking about it for a little bit of time helps. But also sometimes actually just forcing yourself to actually do it as well. I go to the extreme where I either don't bother at all and I just sack it all off for a bit, or I will just force myself to do it. Even if it is, I am just sitting down base coating something or just 10 minutes worth of dry brushing on something.
Or
Because,
I'll build something.
yeah.
And sometimes that'll just like get everything flowing again, because you're like, I've built something, I achieved something, and then it kind of like carries on from there.
Yeah, I've not built anything. I've not built anything since November.
You know what? The other thing I find as well is your hobby time shouldn't just be restricted to the idea of building something or painting something. And this is something I think we've had a few guests on that have said. Read a book that's related to something that you like. Or a big one for me recently, as you're going to find out soon, Donka's been playing Space Marine 2 because, you know, you're still, it's a toe dip thing. You know, you're doing a different form of media, but it's still related to something that you like. So, and here's one of my fellow Space Marine 2 players just joined. So if you're able to try and channel that block in other ways, you know, that's also something that can be quite helpful. Like, you know, it's a weird thought process, but the actual art of building, painting, and gluing, and all of that sort of stuff it all gets you to the same destination, but you can get there by scratching the itch in other ways.
Yeah, I sometimes will find inspiration in the weirdest of places. Like one of my favorite films is Flight of Dragons, which is a random 1984 film that it's really difficult to find a copy of these days. You know, and I'll be like watching that and I'll be inspired by one of the dragons that are on there, and I'm like, oh, that's an amazing color scheme for like this model. Or, you know, just doing anything vaguely kind of geeky, or, you know, like films, books. You know, you can read a Black Library novel and, you know, read a scene and suddenly be inspired to create something, you know. Oh, thanks, Lurch. Shouldn't be throwing your love out to random women on the internet.
That's where you end up with crabs.
I've never given him crabs, thank you.
Don't worry, don't give him crabs.
Oh, given the seaside nippers. I can't even see the chat. The last thing I have in chat is, Lily's kill cats. And that was like for Yehan, like 4 days ago. So I thought the chat had actually stopped. I've not actually seen anything chatting. Fucking ages.
It's still going. It's still going. Don't worry, it's still going.
Any guy that wants to know how to like pull a female hobbyist, Lurch managed it by basically flashing his arse at one.
Nice.
Yeah. While she was working in the Games Workshop.
And she was like that. I want to rim that guy.
Wasn't quite what was going through her head.
It was.
But
deep down inside her, she's thinking, "There's a rimmer there."
Don't.
You put me off
far, step too far.
Oh, Casey's all flustered because we're talking about rimming. That's
and
what it is.
Also seen Harry Maguire just scored, so that's always a flustering thing as well. So where were we? We were not rimming arses.
So, like, I'm just going to ask you a question here, right? Because obviously, like, we've been talking quite a lot about hobby, right? You, as we all know, adopt a lot of kids.
I foster
kids. Sorry, you foster a lot of kids. Any more fostering? Any more dipping their toes into the world of plastic crack at the same time?
So we've got 2 young people living with us currently. One of them would like to have a go at the hobby, so we're facilitating that. some, over the years, I mean, I've been fostering for about a decade now. And even before that, my parents fostered. So around it for many decades. And it varies. Some really like it. I think if there's an interest there, it is an excellent hobby to encourage. I think there's so many different elements that no matter what a young person's interest or kind of aptitude, things that they naturally are interested in or good at, I think there's something that you can engage them with. If it's not the painting, it could be the Black Library books. If it's not those, it could just be about the art. It could be the game. And actually, the game doesn't have to be 40k or Age of Sigmar. There's Blood Bowl. Highly recommend Blood Bowl. There is, Necromunda. I don't even know if you can still get the rule set, but Inquisitor.
More time.
I was waiting for you to say that. I was like, may as well fucking say more time before Casey has an aneurysm.
Well, and more time. I tell you what, some of the more time boards I've seen doing the rounds on the interwebs recently have been absolutely stunning. Is it MS Paint?
Yeah.
Oh,
his stuff is quality.
His YouTube vid about his more time board, I was just slack-jawed watching that. Absolutely amazing.
You know what? Actually, it's funny talking about the different things. I completely forgot I had these. A mate lent them to me ages ago and never took them back off me. But all the old Necromunda first edition books.
Amazing.
They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And I did message him and say, do you want them back? And he never replied to me. So I think they're mine now legally. Yeah, that's how it works.
You asked once, they're yours now.
So
that's the rules.
Possession, 9/10 of the law.
That will never stand up in court. I give it to you, Your Honour. I asked her once and she never said anything. No, that's never standing up in any court of law.
It depends on what you're in the court for, though, don't
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to say tizpaints or Tiz doesn't finish or Paint Mini Tiz and Case Master said to me, ask once, and if they don't give you an answer, just take it.
Yeah. Well, you've asked if they want them back. If they don't respond, don't ask again.
Yeah.
Aye.
You put the ball in their court. If they don't kick it back, that's on them.
Can I just ask you, Casey, where are you today, Casey? We don't see the orange stone.
Yes. I am not in the orange room, and that's a quick mention to our sponsors, Orange Brushes, high quality sable brushes at a low price. Use code Inquisition at checkout.
Very nice.
Yeah. I am in our spare bedroom / backup office at the moment because I get told that when I'm downstairs streaming that I'm too bloody loud and it goes through the house. So I'm in a secure room at this moment in time.
Well, good job too with some of the things that Dunk's been saying.
Yeah. But this is the backup. This is the spare bed. This is the room. There's the office. It's all very nice. It's very green. It's like someone's blown their nose all over it.
Yeah. It's like Mr. Dre's opposite room.
Yeah.
I don't see any bondage.
There's no whips. No, it's actually quite funny because the green on the walls actually really reminds me of the old snot green paint.
Yeah.
And I used to love that paint. It used to go on so amazing. But green paint.
Now, what green was it that we used to do? Sorry, I'm saying this word again. In context this time, though, what green was it that we used to use for the rims back in the day?
Goblin.
That was it.
Oh, you never forget your goblin green.
You never forget your first rim either.
You never forget greening your rims. There you go.
Tiz, you must still have a shitload of stuff for Games Workshop then from back in the day. Do you?
What, lots of models and stuff?
Yeah.
Loads, garage full.
Sure.
Cases and cases upon cases.
Would you consider then?
I used to get 50% off.
Yeah. Would you consider then, actually, this is a good one, if that is the quantity of stuff that you've got, is that your own personal archive, Or would you? And I saw an event recently in Essex called War Boot, which is basically like a Warhammer car boot sale. You rock up, you display your shit, you sell it. Would you be tempted to go along there and actually try and get, just get people buying shit off you for a high price, or is that your own? That's your personal stash.
Yeah,
That's yours.
I don't think I've necessarily got anything that nostalgic,
Mm.
because I think I kind of, I paint stuff and kind of through house moves and stuff, it's all kind of lots of it got lost along the way.
Yeah.
And if I haven't lost it along the way, it's because actually it was really important to me and there's no chance in hell I'm selling it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Like I've sold some bits that I picked up, that was still in box and that kind of thing, but nothing that I'd call like proper nostalgia money worth.
What is your favorite thing from your archive?
Space Hulk.
First edition one.
Yeah. No, my brother has the first edition. I had second ed. Nope. Oh, no, I think because I bought myself a copy. Might have been third ed. Probably second. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Space Hulk's quality.
What was the difference? What was the difference between Space Hulk and Space Crusade?
the licensing,
Yeah.
I think.
Because it was the Blood Angels, the Imperial Fist.
Bloody game, basically.
Yeah. It was also, they sort of just styled it out a lot more in that they got rid of the dreadnoughts, they got rid of certain things, and they were just like, they kept the cardboard tiles, and they just really streamlined it in respect of,
And I think
here's your team.
the Dead Blood Angel and the Brood Lord are still two of my favourite models that have ever been done.
Yeah, I've got that. I've
Just
got this set.
absolute classics.
Every time someone talks about Space Hulk, I always say I have got it sitting in its box. I've only recently took all the tiles out of the cardboard sheet because I played a game with it and my mate had the painted minis. But at some point this year, I will have to sit down and paint them.
One that I've really enjoyed recently is the Alien board game, because that's all like the cardboard, and there's something really reminiscent of Space Hulk about it.
Yeah, I've seen that advertised a lot recently. Have you got it?
Yeah. I've got everything. I've got all the well, I say we've got
Royal We.
So we've got pretty much every model and set of tiles that have come out for Alien. We've got most of the Marvel stuff that's come out. We've got Shatterpoint. Yeah, I mean, we've got something for pretty much everything. Not massively historical though.
No, I was going to say, I think you're either into everything or you're into just one particular aspect, aren't you? With the Alien stuff, and I'll go on to Shatterpoint in a second. I know we are running out of time, and now we're getting really into it, which is always fucking frustrating on this show. With the Alien stuff, like the minis on it look fucking.
They're really, really nice, and they're quite. If you're not massively into your painting, they are. You can get them looking really nice with literally a black spray and then like one of the Turbo Dork like color shifts or something, just to give it that like alien shine. So if you don't want to spend a lot of time with it on them, you can make them look pretty sweet quite quickly. But yeah, they're really, really nice.
That would be it for me. It's just that the colonial marines to me are iconic, and I would love to get my hands on those sculpts.
Yeah, and obviously I've got a thing for the Alien franchise. So
you're definitely rocking Alien 3 there, because they all had to shave their hair because of life.
Oh, lovely. That's not why I cut mine off. Just saying.
That is crabs. It's because of crabs, people.
Riddled. I'm riddled.
With the Shatterpoint stuff, actually, this is my next, because you've mentioned that. Atomic Mass are really doubling down on some of the stuff that they've done. The stuff that they've released so far, I think looks quality. How's that been to sort of get your hands on, have a look at, play with, dabble with painting on it? And
I do wish that the scale was slightly bigger.
okay,
Some of the daintier models are really dainty, and I've got absolutely gigantic hands, so they are a little bit. But the quality of the sculpts and the quality of the minis themselves, can't fault it. I really like some of the scenery, like the
yeah,
walkways and the buildings. Like it's really evocative. They've pitched it absolutely perfectly. Yeah, the game, the mechanics aren't my favorite.
hmm
It's a little bit faffy. There's lots and lots of, if you take this person with that person and then there's this combo, but if you add this person in, then there's something else happens, and
yeah,
it's not the easiest of games to pick up and go.
hmm
But I think if I had more time, I'd probably get quite into it.
yeah. And I know Commissar Molotov, who's Peterborough local as well. Haven't met the guy yet. We need to sort that out at some point. He's talking about the Marvel Crisis Point stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
again,
which I've got.
I think for me, you know what? Again, like the Alien minis, like I painted Master Chief. I really want to get my hands on one. Oh, lovely. But it's almost like a little bit of fear in knowing that these characters are so well known, and even the Shatterpoint stuff. These characters are so well known. Can I do justice to them?
Yeah, I mean, I will admit a lot of the gaming stuff I don't paint. My partner paints. But I'm not being funny. Like, you can't get Hulk roll, like purple and green, innit? Like, slap it on, you'll be fine. Um, they're quite nice. Um, I think with Marvel, what's quite nice is the characters have already got quite established color
Yeah.
schemes, and they are. I wouldn't say they're based on. Well, maybe some of them are based on kind of more modern versions. But if you wanted to go like classic comic color schemes, it works really, really well.
Okay, cool.
So, my partner's doing some of the scenery in kind of more of a cell shading style currently, and he's finding that quite fun. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's the other thing, isn't it? You can push yourself out. You can paint them almost. This is what it looks like in one of the films. This is what it looks like in the books. This is what it looks like in a cartoon.
yeah,
So
exactly.
there is still that little bit of variety, isn't there? I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, if you wanted to paint Hulk pink, like, who am I to say you shouldn't? Doesn't affect me. But if, painting them as the character, you know, sort of history dictates, then, I think there's lots of different versions of each character along
Yeah.
the way. So pick what works for you, your skill level, and what you like.
Oh, sorry, man.
No, yeah, you can waffle away about shitey Marvel all you want to. It's a fucking shitey, stupid franchise.
Ooh,
I like to explore the new films.
It's stupid. It's nonsense. Not in my opinion, Geraldine. Fact. I'm spitting facts here. Geraldine's just come in and she's trying to throw sass at me already. Wait, do you want to go and get the dog to poo in front of you and eat it again? Oh. Jenny,
No one needs that again. No one needs that again, ever.
No one needs that in life. Nope.
I was going to ask something there. Oh, yeah. Off topic, right? So I went fishing. Well, I went to a work party on Friday and I was away getting my supplies. And I went to get tea bags. So I picked up my tea bags. I went to did the work party, set my tent up. Was like, I'm gasping for a hot brew. Can't wait to get this nice cup of tea in me now. Fucking tea we used to bought. What the fuck? They were used to no cunt. But I had a diffuser in the house. Stabby's now into the old tea leaves now. Still trying to convince Geraldine that it's better than teabag tea. Because Geraldine White's had good tea bagging in her tea. Only in her tea. Oh, I'm getting nothing for the rest of the year. But yeah, tea leaves, man. Have you tried tea leaves? What are
Yeah.
your go-to tea leaves?
I mean, this needs throwing, but yeah, we got a little tea sieve. It's gone rusty though over
But I don't
winter.
throw it. That'll be
It
good
got
for
a bit
terrain
damp.
basing.
But
So.
what would be your go-to tea leaves? Because I brought Punjana tea leaves just now because that was Punjana.
Something like an oolong, probably. Or I'm not a massive tea drinker, but like peppermint.
Yeah, I like a peppermint.
Yeah.
I like a red berry as well. Maybe a wee red berry.
Yeah, peppermint, green tea. They're definitely better as leaves rather than in a tea bag. Yeah.
So I'm not a tea drinker massively. I did buy my partner for Christmas.
Coffee.
I did buy my partner for Christmas some loose tea because I've mentioned it before. There's this really, really weird shop called Sostron Green that feels like it's Flying Tiger, but a bit more up its own arse. And they sold loose tea in there.
Yeah.
And there was like loads of different fragrances and smells and tastes off them all. And bought a couple of bags of them. Some of them, they smell quite nice. But you know what it is? It's the ones that escape the strainer and sit in the bottom of the mug. Like I don't want to be tasting grit in my drink. So it's not for me.
No. You need a decent strainer. Or some random old lady in your family that can read the tea leaves to make it worth it. But
One of my old Irish nans used to say she could read the tea leaves, and she'd have them sit them around in the bottom of the cup with a spoon. She'd poke at them, like, "Oh, this is interesting." And you'd look at it and say, "What?" And then she'd just throw the dregs in your face. But she was an evil old bitch.
see,
I loved her to death.
I would have been an absolute terror if I'd had like grandkids or like been the crazy old lady in amongst a family. Maybe I will become, because I'd just see rude things in the tea leaves and just be like all serious and then go penis.
Oh, look at this! Look at this! It's a dick.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'd be like. Ooh, mysterious penis.
I see something. Penis.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't be able to be trusted as an old like tea leaf reading lady.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to convert Geraldine from teabagging to diffusing. And she's refusing to be diffusing. There we go. I am,
Well
she's
played.
not thinking. Yeah, thanks.
So I think we're running up a time there. I think it's 8:01. We've been going solid. So I think we probably draw a line under it there. Don't what do you think?
Yeah, just one thing. Are you looking forward to going to ChillCon or whatever it's called?
Yes, I am. So I've got a couple of events coming up. So I'm doing a painting workshop in Bristol mid-March with AC Miniatures and Phoenix Miniature Art.
Oh.
So that's really exciting. So 2 whole days learning from those 2 absolutely awesome painters. And then the following weekend, I am at ChillCon and I'm doing the day's workshop with Tesseract miniatures. So lots and lots of learnings next month. So yeah, very exciting.
I think.
What other shows have you got on the horizon?
The only other one that I'm definitely planning on attending is Fen in July.
I need to find out what that's about because that's local to me now.
It's amazing. It is probably the most diverse show that I've sort of ever been to. There's so much stuff. I found it probably one of the most inspiring events I've ever been to when I went 2 years ago. Highly recommend. And it's in Ely.
Yeah, that's like half an hour away from me.
Ely's bloody lovely.
Gorgeous place. I've only been there once, but it was stunning.
Gorgeous. And the parking's free.
Yep.
I'm all for free parking.
Yep.
So,
some good pubs as well.
Yes. Yeah,
That
definitely.
could be our meetup this year then.
Maybe,
That'd be cool.
maybe, yeah. It's not
Inquisition on tour.
That would be
tearing,
cool.
tearing up Cambridgeshire.
Just like the Scots did back in 1066.
Have to get it in there somehow. Lovely. Tiz, thank you again for coming on tonight and your second appearance. We're going to have you back for a third. You've got no choice.
Brilliant.
But
yeah, sorry I was at any point distracted. I had, the little dog trying to hump the big dog, and
you know what? I think if there wasn't distraction in a show with you, we'd be disappointed. It's part of the joy of having you on. There's always something happening in the background, and you
it's
always
either
have to
me
wander
keeping
off.
myself off the conversation or the dog's doing something ridiculous. So
Yeah, it's part of the fun.
We've got to keep it real.
Before we call it a day, any shout outs or anything you want to give, any sort of opportunity to big yourself up as well?
Thank you to everyone who follows me. It's not expected, but it's very, very lovely, especially considering how slow I actually produce any miniatures. So thank you for everyone who follows me. Shout out to you two for having me back on. Shout out to all the amazing women that you've had on this month, and all the amazing women who are in the hobby, and all the amazing dudes that are in the hobby. Yeah, everyone in the hobby that's not an asshat, shout out to.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. Dunk, anything from yourself?
No.
No. We are spent.
Yeah.
I can't remember who's on next month, Dunk. Who's the first one in March? Do you?
I think it's the travelling tabletop guy.
Cool. We'll have to. We'll put some stuff out in the far future, and you'll know what we're about, as always we do. Once more, we are sponsored by Orange Brushes. Use code word Inquisition to check out for 10% off. We are hoping to enter into some new partnerships soon, so stay tuned for that. That should be interesting, and we will see you all same time next week for more hobby fun. Cheerio, guys.
Bye.
Oh, that was cool. That effect was cool.
Oh, what did you
Just
do?
put my thumbs
No, didn't do it.
Oh, you did the thumbs up thing. I don't know. I don't get the bubbles. They work.
Yeah, nothing happens.
thumbs.
Doesn't like me.
Fuck it then. Cheers again.
Okay.
Catch you later on.
Bye.